We at the CPR Worldwide Media Network, your constitutional patriot radio station, would like to take a moment to reach out to a portion of our listening audience, to the NSA, the mainstream media, to liberals masquerading as conservatives who would like to see us off the air, and to those who are spinning their wheels trying to take us down. We have a special message just for you. At the CPR Worldwide Media Network, we're happy to be your 24/7, 365 obsession because, while you have your little panties in a wad, we're speaking truth to power, telling real conservatives what you don't want them to hear, the truth, and we're not gonna stop. Now then, back under your collective bridges with the rest of your fellow trolls, and oh yes, thanks for listening to CPR.
This is a station identification moment. You're listening to CPR Worldwide Media, a division of CPR Media Network, coming to you live right across the planet. Check out our website at www.cprworldwidemedia.com and our Facebook page at facebook.com/CPR Worldwide Media. This is CPR Media Network, coming to you live from the USA.
Well, looky here, a new listener. Hey, this ain't your little sister's radio station.
You're listening to Right Side Patriots on CPR Worldwide Media.
We, the people.
This is a breaking news update from the CPR Worldwide Media Network. Diane Sorey from the Patriot Factor, Craig Andreessen from the National Patriot with you today on Right Side Patriots. And Diane, we start with what was breaking news early this morning.
Yes, very sad. We have the savages acting up again.
Yeah, over in Paris this morning, it would have been, I think, about 11:30 in the morning Paris time, which would have been, about 6:30, 5:30 or something like that here on the East Coast.
It happened very, very early EST time.
Yeah, folks, this is just horrendous. There is a publication based out of Paris, France, that is a satirical publication. And they have, over the last several years, been very satirical towards the ideology of Islam. And they were attacked today. We believe 3 gunmen early this morning, our time, like I said, about 11:30 in the morning, Paris time, entered the building, the offices of, and I hope I'm going to say this right, but Charlie Hebdo. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing. My French is not good, folks. But Hebdo, Charlie Hebdo. The offices are on the 3rd and 2nd floor of the building. Masked Islamic gunmen, claiming to have been part of Al Qaeda, entered with Kalashnikov rifles and a couple of sawed-off or at least 12-gauge pump-action shotguns and opened fire. Diane, at least 12 people inside that building were killed, including a couple of police officers.
And while they were doing this, folks, they were shouting Allahu Akbar the entire time.
This entire situation is what we're leading the show with today, rather than doing our quick hitters, which normally would be a lot of fun, and we would be having a little fun with certain items in the news. This is far too important, and takes precedence over that. Let's listen. I've managed to get a bit of audio here. Let me tell you how this was done. This was actually from a piece of video that was shot from a rooftop of a building which appeared to be across the street from the Charlie Hebdo headquarters, the magazine there. People could be seen in this video coming out of a window onto a rooftop. Obviously, they heard the gunshots. They did not know what was happening. They wanted to get out of the building and onto the rooftop. It looks to be about a 3 or 4 story building. You will hear in this bit of audio, it's about a minute long, you will hear some of the people in the audio. They're speaking French. I cannot tell you exactly what they're saying. You see people walking across the building. I'm assuming at some points they're telling people to be careful or to get down. But in this audio, you will clearly hear the Allahu Akbar being screamed from the street, and you will hear the gunshots. Let's take a listen to this for about a minute.
À gauche, à gauche! À gauche! À gauche! Là, là, là! Là, là! Il sort, il sort. Baissez-vous. Vous encore? Mais non, tout. Faites gaffe. Bougez pas. Ouais. Bougez sur ça. On met ça déjà?
Well, there you go. In that bit of audio there, you could clearly hear the gunshots. You could hear the Allah Akbars being yelled from the street. 3 masked gunmen went into the building, opened fire, killed 12 people, including a couple of cops. One of the police officers was actually killed on the sidewalk outside the building. He was literally assassinated by these 7th century barbarians. They then jumped into a car that they had apparently stolen. It was a small black car. They jumped into the small black car, Diane. They took off. They didn't go very far. They went to a subway station, abandoned that car. No, I'm sorry. They drove a short ways, abandoned their car, stole another one, literally carjacked it. Left that driver in the street, drove the second car, I believe, to the subway station, and all 3 of these gunmen disappeared into the subway station. The manhunt is on right now throughout Paris. They're trying to find these people. I don't know, Diane, at this point, if they have any idea who they're even looking for.
No, I have some pictures sent to me of people running, the 3 men running, but it's their backs. It's going to be very hard to identify these gunmen. This was a very well-coordinated military-style attack. They had everything planned out, including their escape. This is going to be extremely hard to catch these people unless someone knows who they are and gives their identity away.
Well, they were wearing the ski mask type hoods that we have become very familiar with in seeing their videos.
Cowards. They don't show their faces. They love to do all these things, but they have to hide behind a mask.
Well, let's bring people up to date. I've got a few little bullet points here. Let's bring people up to date with where they're at in this. Apparently, 2 gunmen entered the building. The 3rd stayed in the car. He was the driver. He took them there and got them out of there very quickly. 12 people have been confirmed dead at this point. We know there are a couple of others that are in critical condition. There were 10 members of the Charlie Hebdo staff and 2 police officers that were killed. 5 others were wounded. Like we said, the attackers are still unaccounted for. They just don't know. They went to the Porta de Pantin metro station where they hijacked another car. The French Interior Minister has said that all measures are being taken to neutralize these 3 criminals, is the way he put it. He called them criminals.
They're not criminals. They're not criminals. They're beyond criminals.
They are Islamic terrorists.
Yes. I have some interesting points too, Craig, that's
Okay.
our listeners might be interested in. What they did was they stalked through the building asking the people's names. Then they went and found the editor, the 3 cartoonists, and the deputy chief editor. They knew exactly who they were looking for. This was an attack strictly over cartoons that appeared on and in the magazine. Now, also, what happened is the policeman was killed afterwards. He begged for his life, and they point blank assassinated him as they were leaving the building. They went in strictly looking for anyone involved with the cartoons. Now, folks, on my blog, thepatriotfactor.blogspot.com, I do have some of the cartoons that raise their ire, shall we say, along with a very brief comment, and let me read it. This is but some of what the Islamic terrorist savages slaughtered 12 people in a Paris newsroom over. So to these people, it is okay to mock Christians and Jews, but if you dare to mock Muhammad or Islam, you die. 7th century barbarians living in a 21st century world. 7th century barbarians with 21st century weapons. And while Obama did call the slaughter an act of terrorism, he still refuses to call it an Islamic act of terrorism. And that is the key. For this man and his ilk refuse to accept the fact that we are at war with Islam and have been since 2001. Guess what, folks? What happened in Paris can and probably will happen here. Be warned and be afraid. Be very afraid. I have posted 6 of the cartoons, including some of the covers. And when you see this and you see how ludicrous this is what these people were slaughtered for. These are animals. These are animals that do not deserve to live, walk, or exist among civilized men. And they are from the group Al-Qaeda in Arabia.
Well, there are various reports. One of them said Al-Qaeda in Arabia. One of the witnesses said Al-Qaeda in Yemen is what they identified themselves as. So at this point, we're really not sure, other than Al-Qaeda or an offshoot of Al-Qaeda. Let me mention the names of just a small handful of the dozen that were killed, and these are
Sure.
members of the staff there at the magazine. The magazine's editor and cartoonist, Stéphane Charbonnier, known as Charb, Bernard Maris, who was an economist and a writer on the board of Charlie Hebdo, and 3 more cartoonists, Jean Cabot, Georges Walensky, and Bernard Verlhac. He was known as Tignes. And those are the names that we have at this point. Diane, I don't know if you have any other of the names or if they've been released at this point.
No, what I do have, and it's very, very upsetting to see, I have a picture that obviously there were security cameras there of the 2 shooters throwing the police officer to the ground and putting the rifle to his head and blowing his head apart.
Like I said, it was an execution out there on the sidewalk. Part of the problem here, Diane, is that according to some of the eyewitness reports, the first police officers to arrive on the scene, as well as now folks, you got to understand something. there had been threats against the Charlie Hebdo staff and the magazine that go back quite a ways, because they've been doing this basically since 2001. So there had been threats. There had been death threats, fatwa reports and such. They actually had police protection inside the building. The reason that was not effective, and this is, I don't know what to tell you, but those police officers were not armed.
No, some of them, like in Britain, not every police officer carries guns.
Well, I mean, when you're there to guard a staff that has been threatened by the ideology of Islam and threatened with death, and you have security there, but your security isn't armed, I'm not sure what they expected they were going to be able to do if these threats were carried through on, like they were this morning. But apparently, from at least one eyewitness, a couple of the cops had to retreat because they simply weren't armed. One of them arrived on a bicycle and was forced to retreat from outside because he too was unarmed.
And Craig, 10 other people were also shot. 4 are in critical condition, and 2 of them might not make it.
Right. So this, like we said at the top of the show, at the top of this report, 12 people have been confirmed killed, but that probably will not be the end of it, sadly. Let me tell you what some other people have said in the wake of this. German Chancellor Angela Merkel has condemned the shootings as barbarous. She was speaking at the British Museum, and she said, quote, "We strongly condemn these attacks, and our thoughts go out to the French people, particularly those who have lost loved ones in this horrendous attack. This is an attack against the values we all hold dear, of freedom of the press, freedom in general, and the dignity of man." Then British Prime Minister David Cameron called the attack, quote, "an appalling terrorist outrage," unquote, and said that he felt huge sympathy for the families of those killed, adding, quote, "We must never allow the values we hold dear of democracy, of freedom of speech, to be damaged by these terrorists. We must stand against what they have done." So there you have 2 world leaders referring to them as terrorists. Obama, on the other hand, simply won't.
Now, I also have a statement by Charlie Hebdo's editor-in-chief, Gerard Biard, and he only escaped the massacre because he happened to be at a meeting in London. And he said, quote, "I am shocked that people can have attacked a newspaper in France, a secular republic. I don't understand it. I don't understand how people can attack a newspaper with heavy weapons. A newspaper is not a weapon of war." Now, remember also that a French journalist was beheaded. These people, Craig, in simple terms, they need to go. We need to stop placating them. We need to stop coddling them. We need to fight to win. That means eradicating them. It's simply put, they are not like we are. They are not civilized. They are barbarians. And there are now reports coming in that some people saw more than 2 people with machine guns. So that means there could be some people, and I use that word lightly, hiding somewhere in Paris, ready to attack again.
Well, and a lot of these early reports that we've been sifting through leading up to the show today, Diane, are in contrast to one another, because a lot of the stuff that's come out early is based around these 2 guys that got into the small car after assassinating the police officer and took off in that. Now, that is not to say that there was not another vehicle in a different part around the corner, possibly, of this building where more attackers may have been as well. So we just don't know at this point. And I'm not sure the French police know at this point. I can tell you that right now on the streets of Paris, there are over 3,500 police officers. They are engaged in a massive manhunt
Yes.
for the barbarians that did this. And this is liable not to stop until they at least, have some sense of safety in Paris. The police presence is going to be on the street, and I guarantee you, after what happened at those offices this morning in Paris, I would be hard pressed to say that any of these police officers are unarmed at this point. They now know the dire situation that they're in. And another thing, along with the Allah Akbars, another one of the things that was heard by witnesses was that these people were yelling, "We have avenged the Prophet Muhammad."
Yes.
So in order to avenge satirical cartoons of a pedophile, they decide to go in and just simply massacre the staff of the magazine that operates this. The magazine, by the way, their website initially, in the moments after the attack, was taken down. It is back up now, and the main page simply says "Je suis Charlie," which in French is "I am Charlie."
Yes, and folks, Craig made for me. I asked him to make it for me. On my Facebook timeline, you will find a new banner. It has the newspaper and it has the words he just mentioned. I wish everybody who can would put this up as their banner to show that we stand united against these barbarians. Not only to honor the 12 that were just murdered, but this has got to stop. And I was also sent a wanted poster. They now have another wanted poster out. They had called for the execution of the infidels, and it was 9 people they named. They got one, Stéphane Charbonnet, from the magazine. But on this list also is Karsten Lust, Terry Jones, Kurt Westergaard, Gert Wilders, who I had the honor of meeting at a Pamela Geller event, Lars Vilkes, Fleming Rose, Morris Swadik, and of course Salman Rushdie. The fatwa was never lifted from him, and it's been put back on. Don't be surprised if we see or hear within the next few days of one or more of these people now being taken out.
Well, and you just mentioned Salman Rushdie. He, of course, wrote the book Satanic Verses. That's what got him the fatwa. He tweeted out, when he heard about this morning, he tweeted out simply, "Zeshwa Charlie,"
yes,
on his
and it's
Twitter
been
account,
picked up
so.
now on Twitter, on everything. I've got it on my timeline. People, we need to stand united, not only in support of what happened in France, to support the French people, but we need to send a very powerful message now to Obama and his ilk. These are Islamic terrorists. I don't care if they're your brethren. They are pieces of garbage. And we need to send the message that we will not allow this here, and we will do everything in our power to keep it from coming here.
Well, and in recent weeks, from what we understand, the offices of Charlie Hebdo had the security there had been beefed up, but beefed up with apparently unarmed police officers because they had received more recent death threats. They said the attackers literally entered the building in a matter of moments, pulled up on the street and were inside the building in a matter of moments. They went through, like Diane said, looking for certain people, and as soon as they found them, they shot them and anybody who happened to be standing nearby them. This entire situation, Diane, is really developing as we speak. Now, we've talked a little bit about the Zeshwi Charlie deal, and there are a lot of people out in the streets right now in Paris as it's late evening or early evening, I guess I should say, in Paris right now. There are a lot of people gathering in streets holding candlelight vigils. Seems like a good majority of them are carrying signs that say "C'est suis Charlie" on them. These people need to be very careful.
Yes.
They are out there in public, and so are the barbarians who did this. They need to be careful. Now, we have a lot of listeners in the United Kingdom, and I know we have listeners in France as well. The United Kingdom needs to be on alert. France has raised its terror alert level to its highest level. I think I read before we went on the air that Great Britain has done the same thing.
Yes, it has.
So, this is the situation as it develops in Paris, France tonight from events stemming from about 11:30 Paris time this morning.
Well, there's a few
people
more
are
little
confirmed dead.
bits of information coming in. This office was previously firebombed in 2011 when they ran a magazine cover of Muhammad just as a cartoon character. They were firebombed. People were hurt. I don't believe anyone was killed at that time, but people were hurt. They have been asking for added security for a long time because they did not back down. Now, another thing that people need to really understand is some of us bloggers, like Craig and I, we will be posting what caused this incident. Like I said, I've already posted it. I believe it's 6 of the cartoons that they put up. We're not going to back down. We're not going to back down. This shows, by posting what caused this, shows we are united with them. This is very important. And when people like Obama come on and make statements that this is lone wolf attacks, which was done from the White House, this is lone wolf attacks, this is individuals. No, this is a coordinated effort against anyone who will not bow down to or submit or convert to Islam. They want to kill us all, folks. This is not a joke. This is not Islamophobia. This is reality. And as soon as people start realizing this is reality, prayers aren't going to work, folks. We can't pray Islamic terrorists away. We need tangible, here and now solutions. Thankfully, America has the largest militia, wink wink, you all know what I mean, as in behind every blade of grass. This also should show us under no conditions must we allow this administration to tamper with that Second Amendment.
Well, or the first, because this was, if this would have happened here, it would have been tampering of the First Amendment, the right to the freedom of the press.
Sure.
This situation is one that we're going to keep our eye on throughout the show today. If we have any more breaking news from this, we will bring it to you as the show unfolds this afternoon. And quite frankly, if we have breaking news after the show regarding this, we will interrupt whatever regular scheduled programming there is to bring you that latest breaking news. But once again, 12 people were massacred in Paris, France this morning by Islamic barbarians. And there are, Diane, what did you say, 4 or 5 more that are in critical condition right now?
Yes, and 2 of them are in highly critical condition. They could still live, but that's not the point. That's not the point. Innocent people were attacked. Journalists are not warriors. They are not troops. They are not fighters. They work with the written word or with the visual. They are not
cartoons.
Fighters. They don't pack guns. So this was a targeted assassination. And that puts it into a whole different level also. This was no rogue attack. This was no lone wolf. This is tied into Al-Qaeda. So Obama, Al-Qaeda is not on the run. They did not go away. They laid low and built up while you putzed around in the Middle East and didn't allow our troops to fight to win. While you tied their hands to win the hearts and minds of these barbarians, they were regrouping. And we're seeing those efforts now.
We've got a lot to cover on the show today, folks. We're going to get into the fallout over John Boehner being reelected as Speaker of the House.
Good sound effect.
Thank you. We're going to get into the most recent of the attacks on police in this country. Yes, folks, it's still going on. And we're gonna talk about that time capsule that was opened in Boston, the one from 1795. Diane, they opened that thing up yesterday, and what they found inside simply has me amazed.
Yes,
so,
especially one particular. Oh, excuse me, people.
Yeah.
I got the hiccups. Especially one particular find is extremely interesting.
It's extraordinary, if you ask me.
It
So,
is.
lot to cover today, folks. We hope you stay with us throughout the show. And to our listeners in France and in Paris today, we are with you, and Je suis Charlie. We'll be back after this.
It's not about how many miles you can get out of the C-Max Hybrid. It's about how much life you can fit into it. The Ford C-Max Hybrid, with an EPA estimated range of 540 miles on a tank of gas, and all the room you need to enjoy the trip. Go stretch out. Go further.
Why do cities shine so bright? It's the glow of opportunities, of ideas bouncing off one another, of countless people, every one of us, striving to succeed. Right now, in cities everywhere, ideas are being born. New thinking that will put us in awe of what people are capable of. That's what lights cities up. And helping people and their ideas to burn even brighter, so that communities, businesses, and you and I can grow. What if a bank made that its job? For more than 200 years, Citi's job has been to help empower people and business. Now, around the world, it's wherever people gather, wherever ideas come alive. It's wherever you are. The world's city.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
It started back in 1776. We told old King George we were sick of his tricks. Started our own thing, called it the USA. Yeah, things went fine till 1864. We had a little falling out called the Civil War, but we got through that, and once again we were on our way. We saw 2 world wars and the Great Depression. Korea and Vietnam sure made an impression. Presidents lied to us on TV, but look at what we got today. It's an Obama nation. Yeah, that's what we got. It's an Obama nation. And you can like it or not. You can't forget about how we did it yesterday. Obama is changing things and doing it his way. And all that I can say is, it's an Obama nation. Yeah. Well, now he doesn't seem to care about the Constitution. That's passe. He's got new solutions. And no need to bother Congress. They just get in his way. With executive orders and a room full of czars, he's taking old banks and building our cars. He wants to run health care and control our take-home pay. His Keynesian ways are increasing our debt. We haven't even seen the start of it yet. Our grandkids are gonna be paying till their dying day for this Obama nation. Yeah, that's what we got. It's an Obama nation, and you can like it or not. It's tax, spend, tax. He's gonna break us all, but let's face the facts. He told us what he's gonna do. It's his Obama nation. Woo. Well, he bristles at liberal or socialist. He prefers progressive, but you can bet on this. No matter what you call it, friend, it's an Obama nation. Yeah, you know, I think he wants to change USA to USSA, United Socialist States of America. Ha! Well, das Vidania, comrade. Woo! Have mercy. Hey, you with the Obama sticker on your bumper. How is that hope and change working for you? You know me, I'm just hoping I'll have some change left in 2012. But that...
All right, Side Patriots back with you. Craig Andreessen from the National Patriot. Diane Sorry from the Patriot Factor. And Diane, we do have a little bit more breaking news. We now know how the gunman entered the offices. They were secured offices. They had a secured door that apparently you had to punch a code into.
Yes.
Just to get in there. And you, while we were in the break, you found out exactly how that transpired.
Yes, what happened was a woman who worked there, her name was Corrine Ray, she goes under the name of Coco, simply went to pick up her daughter from the daycare that's in the same building. And when she was walking out, they accosted her and stopped her, threatened her and her daughter if she did not punch the code in to let them in. Now, the next thing I'm going to tell you proves this was not a normal attack. This was an assassination. They let her and her daughter go under a desk to hide and then went searching for those specific 12 people. This woman is not to blame.
No.
She was pushed into a corner. She had a gun pointed at her and her little daughter. But of course, we're going to have some idiots saying, well, if she didn't let them in, no. She protected her child. She did probably what any mother would do to protect her child.
Well, and chances are she also knew that there were police officers inside the building, and with the hope that they would be able to thwart whatever attack was about to happen. Of course, she may not have known that those police officers were unarmed. So. Right,
and they shot cartoonist Jorge Walensky and Jean Cabot right in front of her and her daughter. And the whole attack lasted but 5 minutes.
Yeah, this was very well coordinated, very well planned out. This is not the type of thing you see with a lone wolf situation. This was done with malice of forethought.
Yes, you hear that, Obama? It's not lone wolves. It's not isolated incidents. These are Islamic terrorists, and the sooner you realize it, and the sooner you say it, maybe then we can start protecting our country.
I'm not going to hold my breath, Diane. I don't know about you, but I'm not going to hold my breath any more than I'm going to hold my breath and wait for Congress to grow a set.
They obviously, by the re-election of John Boehner for the third term as Speaker, They got major shrinkage, let alone grow a set.
Well, because, the first two times, the first 4 years that he was the Speaker of the House, everything went so smoothly.
Oh, didn't it, though?
And boy, did he ever put the brakes on Obama and Obama's agenda. Man, oh man, I can certainly see why they'd want to reelect that again.
Yeah. The man who plays golf pretty routinely with Obama. The man who has his picture taken with Nancy Pelosi, the man who sits there and cries for sympathy, which we all now know is nothing but an act. This is who they reelected. They had some good choices, candidates that wanted to go up against him. One of them was Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert. Another was from my state of Florida. Two, in fact, were from my state of Florida, Representative Ted Yoho and former Florida State House Speaker Daniel Webster. Together, they got 24 votes. But the biggest shock to me, Craig, the thing that really, really upsets me, and people, you're not going to like this. Trey Gowdy, while he was not there for the vote, he was stuck in South Carolina. His planes were grounded due to weather, but he issued an official statement. And in that statement, he said, had our flight not been canceled, I would have voted for our conference nominee, John Boehner. The position of Speaker of the House is a difficult job, as evidenced by the fact that so few members seek the position. Speaker Boehner was approved overwhelmingly by the conference in November. In fact, not a single other name was placed in nomination. Trey Gowdy, I am so disappointed in you.
Well, I'll tell you, somebody else who was there and did vote in favor of John Boehner was Mia Love.
I didn't know that.
It's very true. I wouldn't make this stuff up. Reclaiming our country, getting it back, turning the ship of state around is not going to hinge on who the Speaker of the House is. No. Did I want John Boehner? Absolutely not. Do I want Mitch McConnell over on the Senate side? Absolutely not. I think there are people that are much more in tune with the needs of we, the people, than those two guys are. Am I going to hold this against people like Trey Gowdy and Mia Love? No. But I'll watch them a little bit more closely on certain things. But I'm not going to hold it against them. I'll tell you what is disturbing me, and it's a trend that I saw developing yesterday, and I saw it again this morning. I was actually going to do an article on this for tomorrow. I got it about half written. And then the situation in Paris sprang up, and so I don't know if I'm going to get this done or not. But I'll tell you, basically, the trend that I saw, and that's people that are bailing on the GOP. I'm done with the GOP, they say in social media. I'm done. I'm changing my affiliation. I'm no longer going to be a Republican. I'm done with the Republican Party. Folks, let me tell you something. I understand. I get it. Okay? You've had enough. You've had enough of the rhinos and the establishment. I get it. And I'm right there with you. Okay? I am not going to change my party affiliation from Republican, and here's the reason why. There are only 20 states, 20 out of 50, that have an open primary process. The other 30, and most of those 30 are red Republican states, have closed primaries. That means that if you are not a Republican in 30 states, if you're not registered as a Republican in 30 out of our 50 states, you will not be allowed to vote in the primary. And where do we get rid of the rhinos, folks? We get rid of them in the primaries. If you wait for the general election to get rid of the rhinos, you would be voting for liberals. If you want to get the rhinos out of Washington, you've got to do it through the primary process. You've got to beat the likes of John Boehner before it gets to a general election, whether it's a midterm or a main election every 4 years. The House is up for a vote every 2 years. So
Yes.
every 2 years, you've got the opportunity to get rid of John Boehner if you live in the grand state of Ohio. Do it in the primaries. Find yourselves the best possible conservative, solidly, strongly conservative, constitutionally conservative candidate you can, and coalesce behind that man or that woman. And take that person through the primary and defeat John Boehner. If, however, every different little group of conservatives in the state of Ohio picks their one and only candidate and backs that one and only candidate, of which there might be a half a dozen of them, into the primary process, the vote to defeat John Boehner will be split 6 ways. This is why you have to do this. You have to get together and say who's the best of the 6 or 7 or 5 or 8 or 10, however many there. Who's the best? And get that person going. Get everybody else to drop out so you've got one-on-one against Boehner. If you go one-on-one against Boehner with a strong conservative, you'll kick Boehner's ass.
And another reason, well, I have 2 points here, Craig. First point is these people that are disgusted with the Republican Party, don't be cowards and run away. You need to fix the party, not run for the party. If you think any third-party candidate is going to win in a national election, you're horribly mistaken. There will not be a third-party president. The third-party people that are running now are so far out there.
They're off the radar.
If you know what I mean. They are not grounded in reality or in how government works. Third party is really not an option in a national election, except, like Craig said, on the primary level. You get a good Tea Party candidate, hey, I'm right with you in backing them. But if you get some fringe, some religious candidate, some social issue candidate, that's not going to make it. That's not going to make it. We need to fix the party, not desert the party. Now, another thing very interesting that happened after Boehner was confirmed. Last year, he said he would not ever play tit for tat against those who opposed him.
Au contraire,
Okay.
Pierre.
Au contraire. Daniel Webster and Representative Richard Nugent, also from Florida, who led the charge against Boehner's reelection, were both kicked off the House Rules Committee, which controls how legislation is considered on the floor. Representative Tim Hulskamp from Kansas was stripped of a subcommittee chairmanship after he announced he'd oppose Boehner's reelection. And Representative Randy Weber from Texas was removed as a lead sponsor of an energy bill that is heading to the floor this week, all because they wanted Boehner replaced. So Boehner's gravel, rest assured, guys, it's going to fall again against those 24 that voted against him. This man is not the sweet little, oh, I'm so sweet, I cry. No, no, no. He is vicious.
Well,
this is an act, folks. You need to wake up.
He's exacting revenge, is what
Yes.
he's doing. Now, I came up with this little analogy here, okay? Let's see how this plays in Peoria.
Okay.
All right, so Obama is, and Diane, don't get into the genetics on this, just let me roll, okay? Obama is the first black president, all right?
Oh.
I know. Let me go here. Obama's the first black president. Boehner is the first orange Speaker of the House because he uses all that tanning stuff. It
True.
Kind of looks like a carrot.
True.
Okay. So is orange the new black? I think it is. Because Boehner is basically doing Obama's bidding as Speaker of the House. We would not be able to tell the difference, I don't think, between Boehner and Pelosi.
No, you probably can't. You probably can't. And that's a pretty good analogy. But here's something quite funny, guys. I was listening to this vote when it happened, and the House GOP conference chairwoman, Kathy McMorris Rogers, she's from Washington State. She was the one that placed Boehner's name in nomination. Now, this quote that she gave is just ridiculous, folks. She said, quote, "He is a reformer who works every day to make government more accountable to the people. And he calls himself a regular guy with a big job." Well, I got news for you, sweetie. He ain't a regular guy, because regular guys do not make $250,000 plus perks per year.
Well, and it also came out, and I have not had the chance to dig into the validity of all this, but it also came out that, oh, guess what? John Boehner has invested in stocks. Well, that's not a big deal. A lot of people invest in stocks. John Boehner invested in stocks that belong to health insurance companies that are with Obamacare.
But let's be honest here. I did some investigating on that, and I was going to tackle that until I found out when he did the investing. He did it before Obamacare was ever passed. So, folks, you need to get off that. There's many attacks going on online about him holding stocks in those companies.
And let's face it.
He had those stocks before Obamacare ever went to vote, while Obamacare was still being screwed on by Gruber, okay, while it was still in the formative stage, shall we?
Let's face it, folks. Insurance company stocks have been a good investment for a long time. And who knew which one of those insurance companies was going to cuddle up and kiss Obamacare's rosy red behind until the hammer fell on it. Boehner didn't know. Nobody really knew which ones were going to fall in line and be a part of that, which ones were not. And Boehner, his investment portfolio, as I understand it, of Obamacare stock, or of insurance stocks, is pretty vast. I mean, it's not all in one or two. He kind of covered the spectrum of insurance companies. So, but you look at the situation as it is right now with Boehner and Obama, and Boehner has been telling the people, kind of what we want to hear. And then when it comes down to crunch time, he goes with Obama.
Yes, it seems to be a pattern. But here's something else that I just want people to think about. I am not making any accusations. It's just something that struck me as odd. Everyone knew that the new Congress was going to be seated on January 6th. That's been known forever. Last week, former New York Governor Mario Cuomo died. Now, New York has a tremendous amount of congressmen. 18 of the congressmen from New York decided not to go to the first day of Congress, but to go to the funeral. Now, this man died last week. He's being buried a week later. They had all this time to do a funeral. Isn't it odd that it was picked for January 6th, knowing full well that that was the day a new speaker was going to be elected and the new Congress sworn in? Was that a coincidence? Because, and the reason I say that, with the 18 missing, instead of Boehner needing 100 and I believe it was 31 votes or 21 votes to become speaker, he now was able to become speaker by only getting 205. He got 216. If those 18 Democrats had been there, and the Democrats would not have voted for him, he would not be speaker today.
Most of the Democrats in the House were voting for Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, she got 164 votes. Botox Queen Nancy. They think is wonderful.
I don't get it, man. I mean, and Harry Reid over on the Senate side, poor Harry, he couldn't be there either because he fell down and went boom.
Oh, well, that's Senate anyway, so.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, I'm just saying. But he came out and issued a little video. He's got a big old bandage over one eye, and
sounds like Hillary, doesn't it?
Fell down, went boom. And he said, well, gosh, I'm really sorry I couldn't be there. I didn't get this boxing, with Floyd Mayweather, or riding a motorcycle. I did it while I was exercising. And a lot of people, you don't picture him this way, but a lot of people don't realize Harry Reid used to be a professional boxer. I just can't believe that milquetoast ever got in the ring. But anyway, he said, I had a whole thing prepared to welcome new members of the Senate, and now, unfortunately, I won't be able to deliver that. You know what? They got along just fine without you, Harry. Take a hint.
Yeah, and they'll get along fine, now that you've been knocked down a peg, you're just another senator now. You're nothing special, honey.
Take a hint. Take a
but
hint.
The unfortunate thing is Nancy Pelosi is still the minority leader. I mean, what is wrong with these Democrats?
Well, she's the minority leader in the House. Harry Reid's the minority leader in the Senate. Look, House leadership right now, whether it be majority or minority, sucks.
Yes, it does.
Because, you've got, I should say congressional leadership, because on the House side, you've got John Boehner and Nancy Pelosi. On the Senate side, you've got Mitch McConnell and Harry Reid. Dear God. This is what's leading Congress? Oh, my Lord.
Well, now you know why there will never really be true bipartisanship on any bills. All these Democrats that promised, oh, no, we're going to be for Keystone and whatever. What's going to happen when Obama slaps his veto on Keystone? Are they going to stand with the Republicans and override the veto and do what's in the best interest of their constituents and the country? I'm not going to hold my breath for that one.
No, luckily we only need a tiny handful to override the veto.
Right.
But will there be that? Will they be there? That's the question that Diane is asking, and I think it's valid. They may ballyhoo and bloviate now
to get elected, to get themselves reelected.
Yeah, but when push comes to shove, where are they going to stand? And I think we're going to find out pretty quickly, because I think this new Congress, regardless of who they elected to lead the House, is going to take on a lot of stuff. And primarily, I think you're going to see in the next 30 to 60 days a flurry of activity cleaning off Harry Reid's desk. Dusty piles, 370 some odd bills sitting there gathering dust that were all passed through the House, but met a closed mind in the Senate.
Wouldn't even allow them to the floor. He wouldn't even allow them to the floor, folks. Yeah. But what do you want to bet that whatever one is passed, we'll be seeing a flurry of the veto stamp?
Oh, I guarantee it, Diane. But I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes, because the first few that come up, we're going to find out who's going to stand where, and But let's make Obama own it. He can either pass these bills. A lot of them had to do with jobs and getting government out of the way so that employers could do what they do, and that's employ people. Let's see what happens, because if Obama's going to veto all this stuff, he's going to have to own it. If the Senate can't come up with enough to override the veto, Obama's going to have to own this stuff now, and I say we light the fires and just see how well he stands up to the heat.
Well, only time will tell, but you know what? The more he vetoes good legislation, the more that is going to turn on the Democrats come 2016. People on both parties, on both sides of the aisle, are disgusted with the way things are going.
Well, and that's where Congress needs to put their stock in trade right now. Anything that Obama vetoes, they've got to make literally a federal case out of it. And they've got to get it out there in front of the public and just bang and bang and bang and bang away on the fact that this would have been good for the people. This would have been good for businesses. This would have been good for jobs numbers. This would have been good for economic security, for energy, for this, for that, for the other thing, and just keep banging on it for 2 years so that when those 2016 elections come by, everybody knows damn well who killed them.
Yes, and which party killed them.
Exactly. Exactly. Folks, we still got a lot to go. We're going to get into the most recent of the police targetings by thugs around the country. And literally, it's been going on from coast to coast. Part 3 of my 3-part series, we'll delve into that just a little bit. And then, before we wrap up the show today, the opening of the 1795 time capsule with an absolutely astonishing find inside.
Yes.
I can you tell I'm giddy about this.
I think it's phenomenal. And it's a national treasure, that's for sure.
You know, for people that are into history like Diane and I are, and I know a lot of you out there that are listening, this thing is a treasure.
Yes.
So we'll get into that before the end of the show. Folks, don't go anywhere. Hour 2 of Right Side Patriots will be coming to you right after this brief timeout.
The design of the Ford Escape is clearly intended to grab your eye. Oh, and your foot. Huh, ain't that a kick? The Ford Escape with the foot-activated liftgate. Go open up something interesting. Go further.
We at the CPR Worldwide Media Network, your constitutional patriot radio station, would like to take a moment to reach out to a portion of our listening audience, to the NSA, the mainstream media, to liberals masquerading as conservatives who would like to see us off the air, and to those who are spinning their wheels trying to take us down. We have a special message just for you. At the CPR Worldwide Media Network, we're happy to be your 24/7, 365 obsession because, while you have your little panties in a wad, we're speaking truth to power, telling real conservatives what you don't want them to hear, the truth, and we're not gonna stop. Now then, back under your collective bridges with the rest of your fellow trolls, and oh yes, thanks for listening to CPR.
This is a station identification moment. You're listening to CPR Worldwide Media, a division of CPR Media Network, coming to you live right across the planet. Check out our website at www.cprworldwidemedia.com and our Facebook page at facebook.com/CPR Worldwide Media. This is CPR Media Network, coming to you live from the USA.
Well, looky here, a new listener. Hey, this ain't your little sister's radio station.
You're listening to the second hour of Right Side Patriots on CPR Worldwide Media.
We the people.
See, I told you we'd be right back. Craig Andreessen and Diane Sorey from the Patriot Factor and the National Patriot. She of the Patriot Factor, I of the National Patriot. Together we are your Right Side Patriots. And we are back for a second hour on a day that saw absolute barbaric activity in Paris, France. We're still keeping an eye on that situation. We do know that 12 people have been confirmed to have been killed in the Islamic terrorist attack on a satirical newspaper, a satirical magazine in France this morning, and the perpetrators of that, at least 3. We do have a few reports that there may have been more, but we know it confirmed at least 3 have not been found. They disappeared into the French subway system, and nobody knows where they are at this point. So the terror alert has been raised in France. It's been raised in Great Britain because, let's face it, there is a tunnel under the
channel.
Water, under the channel. I was going to say the strait, but I knew it wasn't the strait. It's the English Channel. And being as these people fled into the subway system, who knows at this point where they are. So, folks, if you're out there in France, in Paris, in Great Britain, let's be really, really careful.
Yeah.
As well as our cops in this country should be really, really careful, Diane. I did a 3-part article. We talked about the first 2 parts of it on Saturday's show. The 3rd part came out on Sunday, and the targeting of police officers in this country continues. 2 more cops were shot in Brooklyn.
Yes. Yes, very, very sad. Fortunately, their injuries were not life-threatening. They are going to be okay. And 2 suspects have been arrested in the shootings. So that's a good thing. That's
good to hear because, in some cases, like the sniper-style shooting in Los Angeles, they still don't know. They caught one of them. They still don't know who the other one was.
Right, and this was not how this shooting differs from the assassination of Officer Ramos and Officer, now detectives, Lou, is that this was not an assassination. These officers just happened to be the ones responding to a burglary. It's as simple as that. They were the wrong people in the wrong place at the wrong time. It does not excuse the shooting, because here it was, 2 cops were gunned down again. But it was not an assassination like Ramos and Lou.
Right, but let's take a look, and this comes from the 3rd part of my series, The War Against Cops. This was out. I put this out on Sunday. If you haven't read it, go to thenationalpatriot.com. And find it. But let me just give people a brief overview of some of the others, some of these other attacks against our police officers in this country. You've got the 2 in Brooklyn that Diane was just talking about. 3 shots were fired at 2 sheriff's deputies in Pasco County, Florida, and so close were the bullets that both of these deputies could hear them whiz as they went past their heads. There's been a $3,000 reward issued for any information pertaining to the suspects or the vehicle from which the shots were fired. They don't know who did that yet. Nobody's in custody. In Raleigh, North Carolina, a man described as a black male apparently shot out either a window or a sliding glass door at the home of a police officer. Back on Christmas Day, an officer in Durham, North Carolina, was writing up a report while sitting in his cruiser when he noticed 2 men approaching from behind the car. Officer J.T. West exited his cruiser to speak to the men, and one of them drew a weapon and opened fire, 6 shots in all. They struck the patrol car as West returned fire. Both men in question fled the scene. They have no idea who those people were. I think I mentioned this on Saturday, but I'm not sure, so I'll do it again. In West Virginia, officers had just pulled over a white SUV when a red pickup truck stopped right there with them. One of the 2 men in the pickup opened fire. The bullet struck both of the officers in the legs. One of those officers did manage to return fire. Both officers are going to recover. One of the suspects was hit in the leg. They do have both of these guys. The red pickup sped off. It was later stopped. Both men, apparently a father and son team of thugs, were arrested, and oddly, 2 dead bodies were found in the back of the pickup truck. So that investigation is still going on. So this is just going on and on and on, Diane. And there's not a lot that cops are going to be able to do. Now, we've heard that a lot of the police departments are saying, well, we're going to double up in police cars now. Instead of just having a single officer per cruiser, we're going to put two. Well, that's good because it provides safety between the two officers. However, it's bad for the public because where you used to have two cruisers in two different parts of a metropolitan area, you now only have one, which means fewer patrols. You've got longer response times because of things like that. So, I mean, when you look at some of the different possibilities, body armor. Body armor is good, but it doesn't really protect the head. And, we've already had complaints. And personally, I don't give a damn about the complaints that the cops are looking too militaristic in all this body armor. Who gives a damn?
Ridiculous what people complain about.
But the problem is a lot of police departments cannot afford extra body armor. And a lot of the bullets that are being used are called cop killers. These are hollow point bullets.
Yes.
And on a regular bulletproof vest, even some of those, if fired from the right kind of weapon, can get through. So it's not something that a lot of police departments are going to be able to heavily invest in. And things like that. So there's drawbacks to all the different things the police can do, to get through to this. And Diane and I both believe, folks, that what Obama is trying to do here is bring about the need for a national police department.
Yes, he would like to consolidate everything under one power. And guess what that power is and who it is? The federal government and him. This would be a very, very dangerous step because this is on the road to things like the SS. No, our police departments need to be, as they are, state level, local level, municipality level. They are there to protect and serve we the people. They don't need the federal government butting into everything. It's just not needed. By the way, I do have the names of the two people that were arrested for this latest shooting. One is Jason Polanco. The other is Joshua Kemp. They are responsible, the police believe, for a number of local commercial robberies. And one of them has made anti-government and anti-police statements on Instagram. Now, I think that particular one is Polanco because he is facing charges of attempted murder of police officers along with charges of robbery and carjacking. Kemp, on the other hand, is just being charged at this point with commercial robbery. So that leads me to believe that it's this Polanco that is the one making the anti-police and anti-government statements. If it's proven that he is the one that has done this, you make anti-government statements that he might be facing some federal charges on.
As far as I'm concerned, you take a shot at any cop, you should be facing federal charges. You kill a cop, it's death penalty, case closed.
I agree.
However, Eric Holder doesn't believe that. Eric Holder has been lifting the death sentence off the table for cop killers recently.
But let's make a point here, Craig. Eric Holder has been lifting the death sentence for black perpetrators who kill cops. Or who point a gun directly at a little tiny baby and blow his head off. Remember that case? That shooter had the death sentence taken off his options.
Can you say racism?
Yeah. And remember the Marine and his pregnant wife that were slaughtered by a gang of black thugs? Death sentence was taken off the table for them too.
Well, now, since we last met, which would have been Saturday, the funeral for officer promoted to detective Lou in New York City was held. Now, leading up to that, we had the police commissioner, whose name I believe is Bratton, urging the cops. He fell short of giving them a direct order, but he urged them not to do what they did at the Ramos funeral, which was turn their backs on de Blasio. So Sunday during the funeral, as the funeral began, we were all wondering what's going to happen. Well, the funeral was held in a smaller place, a smaller venue, let's say, than the Ramos funeral. So most of the officers, and when I say most, I mean thousands of them, were outside, where they could hear the what was going on. They had
the
audio.
jumbotrons were set up.
The big TVs and everything. They could see it. And so as de Blasio got up there, I was kind of holding my breath. I'm going, do it, turn around. And they did.
Yes. Thankfully, they did not listen to Brayton. I'm not quite sure how it's pronounced. And like Craig said, yeah, he spoke about it, but there was no passion like, you better not turn your backs.
No, but
it's
afterwards,
almost like he was forced to say the correct words, but we all knew they weren't his feelings. And the officers probably picked up on that, and they did the right thing. De Blasio not only deserves to have people turn their backs on him, de Blasio needs to go, period. They need to recall him, or however they work in New York City. But this man has destroyed the relationship between the all-important police department and the public. It's not that the public doesn't honor, respect, and want the police, but he has made it where the police are so hated by a minority group and a minority with a minority that he has now put their lives in danger every time they go out.
Well, let me tell folks what happened after. The funeral was on Sunday. On Monday, de Blasio and Bratton take to the microphones, have a little press conference. And first it was de Blasio, and he gets up and says, well, this was disrespectful to the family of Officer Liu, and this was disrespectful to the people of New York City. Cops turning their backs. It was just a sign of disrespect to the family and to the people of New York. And then Bratton, the police chief, police commissioner, he gets up there and he says, I just don't understand. I don't get it. I don't understand why people would turn their backs and put on a show of disrespect. Why in the world would we have a political rally at the officer of a funeral? I just don't get it, he said. Well, I get it.
You know what I consider disrespectful, Craig? When the mayor's wife, his black wife, goes to the funeral of an assassinated officer in a pair of scrungy, old, beat-up jeans. I consider that disrespectful.
Really? You do?
Yes.
You know what? So do I. Here's the thing, folks. I get it. I understand why they did it. They did it for Ramos. They did it for Liu. If they would not have done it for Liu, that would have been disrespectful to the memory of Officer Liu. And I guarantee you, after the crap that Comrade de Blasio has spewed from his pie hole about the police department, about police, the crap that he is teaching his son, I guarantee you that Liu's family and Ramos's family, they get it too. As a matter of fact, one of the two cops that was wounded in this Brooklyn shooting, de Blasio had the unmitigated gall to show up in his hospital room. And according to that officer's father, his son was not pleased at all.
No. The police stand together. They're brothers in arms, if you will. And when one of them is hurt, when one of them is killed, they all grieve together as a cohesive unit. When they put on that badge and go out to their jobs with these idiots and thugs that we have running around now, they don't know if they're going to make it home to their families at night. And de Blasio and his ilk have made the atmosphere that they have to work in now even worse. And this is not just a crime against the police, by the way. This is a crime against the public. Because if the police can't do their jobs to protect the public, if the police are so targeted that they can't focus on what they have to do, the public is also greatly affected.
This is why the mayor, I don't care if it's New York City.
He has to go.
Well, look, I don't care if it's New York City or, the mayor of Butt Scratch, Kansas. Okay? You got to be behind your police department. You got to stand with your police department. You got to support the men and women who are out there as the first responders, the ones that are between the bad guys and the public. You need to be on their side for a change, de Blasio.
Yes.
Because if you're not, there's going to be a lot of tension. The cops have more to worry about than your socialistic ass. They really do.
Yes.
But when it comes to the funeral, because of what you, de Blasio, have been saying, because of your actions, de Blasio, that's why they turned their backs. Not because they were disrespecting the two police officers who died in the line of duty. That was a slap in your face, not theirs. And I don't blame them not one bit for doing it. As a matter of fact, I think they should continue doing it until you resign, because the people of New York, the good people of New York, deserve better from a mayor than somebody who would stand there and defame the police department that is supposed to protect the people of New York. That is the insult to the people of New York.
Exactly. This whole situation in New York is an abomination, but it's just a little microcosm of what's happening all across the country. And that's the problem. The police, like our military, their hands are being tied by the government officials. Okay? What I'm going to say next, a lot of people won't like, but I'm going to say it.
Really? You don't have a history of doing that, do you?
We don't need to do away with racial profiling. We need to do it more, because most of the crime is committed by a certain element within a minority population. Not all, obviously, but a certain element within that population. That's where most of the serious crime comes from. And I don't want to hear them screaming, oh, there are more of us in the jails. The reason there's more of you in the jails is because it's more of you committing the crimes.
Well, there you go, not using Common Core math again.
Right. Just like we have to stop coddling the enemy on the theater of war, we need to stop coddling the race baiters, the haters, the white haters, the ones that are trying to instill guilt, the thugs. We need to stop coddling them. They chose their own path to go their way, which is the wrong way, as we all know. Don't make excuses for them anymore. Don't coddle them. You see them acting up, arrest them. I don't care what color they are. Arrest them. This has gone too far, folks. We now are not only fighting a war over there, but we have now our police, our citizenry, fighting a war of a different sort over here. And you know who's at the bottom of both of them? The regime.
Yep. I mean, you look at it, folks, you start connecting the dots, and that's right where it takes you. Folks, if you live in a neighborhood in a part of this country where thugs are running the streets, and when I say running the streets, I don't mean just running up and down the streets. I mean running things on the streets, okay? They're in charge, in other words. What you need to do is you need to get with your local police department. You as the people, you as the people of the neighborhood, need to get with the cops and say, what can we do to get these people the hell out of here? If the people retake the streets and help the cops, call the cops. When you see something going on, when you see a drug deal going on, if you see a robbery going on, if you see something in your neighborhood that stinks, call the cops.
Yes.
And videotape it. Do whatever you have to do, but let's start getting some of these people off the street. Part of the problem is that we as citizens tend to rely too much on governments and government entities to do everything we need done. Sometimes we got to help. We got to pitch in. I'm not saying going out and patrolling the streets and taking the job of the cops into your own hands. What I'm saying is keep an eye on your neighborhood. If you see something wrong in your neighborhood, raise a big stink about it. If you know you're living in a dangerous part of your city, do something about it. Get with the cops. Form citizens committees that will work with the police department and show the police department that you support them. If you do that, they will be more apt to support you.
Absolutely. We have to stand united with our police. And, you know, guys, we're not saying that 100% of every police officer out there is out there for the right reasons, but we are saying 99.9% of them are. Okay?
You see a bad cop, you turn that cop into the good cops.
Exactly. And there are very few bad cops. Nobody, no organization is 100% perfect. But I would say that 99.9% of every police officer out there is out there for the right reasons. They want to protect and serve we the people. The ones who are the real criminals are the ones in the regime and their little thug followers.
Well, you take your Obamas, you take your Holters, your Sharptons, you take your de Blasios, you take your race baiters, and you can see what they have done. They have followed Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals to a T. Never let a crisis go to waste. You get a thug or two that are killed by the police because they, you take Antonio Martin in Berkeley, Missouri. He points a gun at the cops shoot him and kill him. Okay?
Yes.
You take Mike Brown. Mike Brown attacked the cop, tried to take the cop's gun. The cop chased him down, and when Mike Brown turned around and started charging at the cop, he shot him, killed him. You take a few incidents like that. Never let a crisis go to waste. Well, that had to be racist. These were white cops. These were black punks. It had to be racist. And so you start throwing that propaganda out there, and then you get some master race baiter like Al Sharpton to print up a bunch of T-shirts and crap and go out there, no justice, no peace, hands up, don't shoot, I can't breathe. How many of these little thugs and punks know the facts about Eric Garner? You know what? Cops didn't kill him. He died of a heart attack on his way to the hospital, sitting in the back of an ambulance.
Yes, and he was on the verge of dying before this incident even happened. He was a severe diabetic, severe asthmatic. He had congestive heart failure. His own friends said he couldn't walk even a half a block without stopping and gasping for air. And what people don't realize, you know who called the cops on Garner? The store owners, because he had a history of bothering and interfering with these store owners' businesses. And guess what, folks? They were black store owners.
You got to find out what the facts are in these cases and run with the facts, folks. But you put this regime in there, you put them in the mix, and they're going to take, what shouldn't be any kind of a situation at all. Should be a local situation or a neighborhood situation, and that's the end of it. Thug robs a store, attacks a cop, gets killed by the cop, end of story.
One less thug to deal with. We don't have to pay for them to sit for years in a cushy jail as they await the death sentence that Eric Holder will take off the table.
But you put the regime in there with their propaganda, and all of a sudden it's an unarmed child that was murdered by the cops. Bull crap, folks. They know it, we know it, and that's why we do what we do, and that's get the truth out there about these situations. But if you think the targeting of cops is going to go away, I guarantee you every week we will have news stories of cops that have been targeted by thugs. And the only way this is going to stop is when the cops literally take control of those streets and run these people out of town.
Yes. It's time for a shakeup, guys, and I'm sorry if it involves racial profiling. Too damn bad.
Well, that's right, because we have always said it. Political correctness will get you dead.
That's right, and that works on both ends.
So, folks, we have got a great story to close out the show today after the break. I'm giddy about this because I'm a history nut, and I know Diane is too. And I'm telling you, this thing is it's a little miniature treasure trove. They opened the time capsule from 1795, the one that was buried in Boston. They opened it yesterday, folks. What they found inside is astonishing.
Yes.
And I'll give you this little tiny hint. Forensic evidence.
Yes,
Oh!
terrific forensic evidence.
I'm telling you, I am giddy about this, folks. Don't go anywhere. We're going to wrap up the show with the time capsule being opened. Diane and I will be back after this.
I believe that every single one of us has what it takes
to win back-to-back gold.
Ski faster than any other human.
I believe it's possible to overcome fear.
I believe
it's possible to destroy stereotypes.
To start over, to be the toughest,
the strongest,
the bravest in the world. And when we work together, we can make it all possible. That's why Citi has donated $500,000 through its Every Step of the Way program, an initiative created to help future athletes reach their full potential through sport programs that inspire us. Like figure skating in Harlem.
Like youth enrichment services. Like Team for Tomorrow.
The Team USA Stay on the Slopes initiative. Now spread the word and help decide how much of that money goes toward
offering personal support and financial assistance to Olympians in need.
Promoting the growth of hockey in the U.S.
Expanding the sport of luge into new regions.
Support for wounded service members. Join Team Citi and let's turn a world of potential into reality.
Go to citi.com/everystep and help decide where the money goes.
The most amazing thing about the Ford Fusion isn't the way it looks. The most amazing thing is the way it sees. With blind spot technology, a lane keeping system, and a standard rear view camera, the Fusion is ready for whatever comes your way. Go prepared. Go further.
However dark the night, however dim our hopes, the light is always there within you.
His family gave him hope.
You fight harder than those other guys, and you win.
His spirit gave him strength.
We're gonna die out here.
We're not dying!
And in his darkest hour,
Who is the Olympic athlete?
his faith would not be broken.
Hello, Mother and Father. This will be the first time in 2 years that you'll have heard my voice. I wish you all a Merry Christmas. Your loving son, Louis.
On Christmas Day, experience the unbelievable true story of one man's journey home.
You can take it. You can make it. Just gotta believe you can.
If I can take it, I can make it.
Unbroken, rated PG-13, Christmas Day.
Come on, Harry!
Dumb and Dumber 2 is the #1 movie in America.
Am I right?
What? Seriously, it's #1.
These guys are morons!
I like her a lot. Dumb and Dumber 2, rated PG-13. Now playing.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Son, you gotta work late. Sometimes I wonder what I'm gonna do, but there ain't no cure for the summertime blues. Well, my mama and papa told me, son, you gotta make some money. call, 'cause you didn't work a leg. Sometimes I wonder what I'm gonna do, but there ain't no cure for the summertime blues. Son, but you're too young to vote. Sometimes I wonder what I'm gonna do, but there ain't no cure for the summertime blues. Yeah. I said there ain't no cure for the summertime blues. Yeah.
And we're back on Right Side Patriots. Craig Andreessen from the National Patriot. Diane Sorey from the Patriot Factor. A little Brian Setzer, Summertime Blues. For all those people out there who are being inundated by global warming right now. Global warming flowing down from the north. Today, right here in my little burg, we're expecting a high of 7. And I don't think we're going to get there.
I'm sitting here laughing with my air conditioner on, and
yeah. See, you're all you're doing right there is expending more energy. If we want it to cool off in the house, we just open a window.
Well, it's 77 degrees right now, and as far as I'm concerned, that's air conditioning weather.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's 71, sitting right here.
Inside your house.
Well, yeah, but you don't have to put qualifiers on it.
Oh, okay.
Folks, I'm giddy about this. I know Diane is too. They opened that time capsule yesterday in Boston.
Yes.
They were doing some renovation a few weeks ago at the Boston State House, at the Massachusetts State House. And in the process of doing this, they found a little tiny metal box, little tiny box. The thing is probably, I want to say 5 inches by maybe 8 inches, 5 inches by 9 inches. And it was in the cornerstone. And part of the renovations that they were doing involved removing the cornerstone, apparently. When they did, they found a time capsule that had been buried there, get this, since 1795.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Just a little later than the birth of our nation. Yes.
Now, they of course had to do a lot of stuff. They had to make sure that it was stabilized. They had to do this in a very controlled environment, to open it up, because not knowing exactly what was in there, they didn't want to take a chance on damaging anything, because we're talking Boston, Massachusetts, 20 years after the founding of this country,
Yes.
Wow. So.
Well, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Ahead. No. Go, I'm just all agog.
You're giddy. What I was going to say is, let me tell them what was in it, except I will leave the coup de grace for you.
Okay. Have at it.
What they found in this, and this was conducted by the curators at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, and in this box they found 5 tightly folded newspapers, a medal depicting George Washington, a silver plaque, 2 dozen coins, including one dating to 1655, and the seal of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. But
Now,
the coup de grace goes to Craig.
Well, now before we get into it, let's just talk about those items, okay? Newspapers apparently were big in the time. And these 5 copies, now these aren't the big, great big newspapers like what we're used to seeing. These are very much smaller.
Right, a couple
obviously.
of pages at most.
But getting the news out was important to the people of Boston in 1795. So important was it that apparently, and we don't know yet what's in these newspapers. We have not yet had a chance to look at the stories, the articles that were written, to see what the news of the day was back then. But let me tell you, it's going to be fascinating to see it.
Yes.
The coins, 24 of them. Some of them were slightly corroded. Some of them not so much. But 1655, one of the coins had a date on it of 1655.
Yes. That's from the early Pilgrim settlers.
You know what that tells me? Coin collecting in history was big to these people. They had a coin that went back to the days well before the colonial era, to the Puritan era of this country, of America, and the Pilgrims. And this was something that they apparently must have thought to be quite the historical prize.
Yes. And what's a little bit odd about this is not the original box, apparently, that the objects were in. The curators believe that the contents were shifted to a copper box, the one that was found, in 1855, and they placed it back into the foundation of the State House, where it remained until it was rediscovered last year during an ongoing water filtration project at the building. The box was actually brass.
The original.
The original.
Yeah, the original. Now, a medal. There was a medal in there that had a depiction of George Washington on it, our first president. Okay? So that, in and of itself, is cool.
Yes.
Right?
Well, here's one more interesting fact, Craig, about the coin. Okay, the coin that dated to 1652 was called a pine tree shilling, and it was made at a time when the colony didn't have royal authority to create its own currency.
Wow.
Yet they did, because pine trees were a valuable commodity at the time because the trees were used as ship masts. So they made the coin in honor of the pine tree, but they had no authority to do it.
Now, here's the piece that's got me just itching today, okay? There was a small silver plaque. Now, this thing, I looked at photos of it today. They were holding on to it with a pair of rubber gloves. And I would guess this thing to be about 4 inches wide and maybe 7 inches long. So it's not very big, and it's thin. This thing looked to be no thicker than a credit card, okay? And in one of the photos that I saw of it, I blew the photo up. I captured the image, and then I enlarged it so I could actually read what was written on it. And let me read to you, word for word, what was on this little plaque. It said, "This cornerstone of a building intended for the use of the legislative and executive branches of the government of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts," and we'll get into that word here in a minute, "was laid by His Excellency Samuel Adams, Esquire, Governor of said Commonwealth, afoisted by the most worshipful Paul Revere, Grand Mafter, M-A-F-T-E-R, Grand Mafter, and the Right Worshipful William Scolay, Deputy Grand Master, the Grand Warden and Brethren of the Grand Lodge of Massachusetts, on the 4th day of July, and Dom 1795, AL 5795, being the 20th anniversary of America, 20th anniversary of America independence. Not American, not Americas, but America independence. Now, the word Massachusetts. How many F's, folks? How many F's do you suppose are in the word Massachusetts?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It is quite odd, isn't it?
They spelled Massachusetts Massachufetts. That apparently was the legal or highfalutin spelling of the word Massachusetts.
Either that or somebody was a bit illiterate.
I can't imagine. I mean, these are the founders of. We're talking about Sam Adams and Paul Revere.
Yeah, I'm joking.
Now, the two dates, 1795 and AL 5795. I had to do a little look and find out what AL was. It is Anno Lucas or Lucis, Lucis, and it means the year of light. Now, I had to do a little digging past that to figure out what in the world they were talking about there. But it is the craft masonry calendar that commences with the creation of the world and uses the term Anno Lucas, AL, in the year of light to arrive at the date. They add 4,000 to the common time. So 1795 becomes 5795 because they believed the earth in conventional theology to have begun in the year 4000 BC.
Yes, and they were trying to make it coordinate with the biblical depiction that the earth is only, what do they say, Craig, 6,000 years old? I mean, come on. Let's get real here. We won't go into that. We'll save that for another show.
Yeah, but apparently,
let's get real.
Apparently dinosaurs were just floating around because there was no Earth, a few 100 million years ago. So, we'll leave that for another episode of Friday Night Patriots.
Tell them what was on the plaque that's even more astounding.
Now, you've got to understand something here, folks. Paul Revere was a silversmith by trade. Now, we all know, the midnight ride of Paul Revere, and one by land and two by sea, and that's what made him famous in the parlance of the Revolution. But he was a silversmith by trade. This plaque is made of silver. It is my belief, now I don't know if there's any way to prove it, but it is my belief that this plaque would have been handcrafted by Paul Revere himself. He was, after all, a silversmith. He was there. He was one of the three men who put the stuff in this time capsule and put this in the cornerstone, laid the cornerstone.
Yes.
On the plaque, get this, folks, visible fingerprints.
I'm looking at them right now, folks.
They can see fingerprints on the silver. Those have to be the fingerprints of one of three people. They have to either be Sam Adams, or they have to be this fellow Scolay, William Scolay, or they have to be the fingerprints of Paul Revere.
Logic would tell you Paul Revere.
Paul Revere, I believe, made the plaque. It would then be my guess he is the one that placed it in the box.
Yes. Now let's make something clear, guys. This box was looked at in 1855. It was resealed and put back. However, even as far back as 1855, when they looked at antiquities, they wore gloves. The people that were looking at it wore gloves. These fingerprints are older than 1855. They're actually sort of embedded in the silver.
I don't think there's any way to prove it. I don't think there's any way to find out whose fingerprints those are, because most everything that was ever made or handled by Paul Revere has been handled and rehandled for 200 years.
But you know what, Craig? Logic would tell you, especially if you follow the steps and connect the dots, that it would either have to be, I'm eliminating Scully, because this thing is so thin and so fine, I believe only the person who crafted it would know how to actually handle it so it wouldn't bend. You're talking something that's as thin as a piece of paper.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this thing, it's at the most, it's as thick as a credit card. And when you're dealing with silver, that is fragile. I mean, something like that can bend.
It's soft.
And this thing is as flat as a pancake. which
Yes.
means that it was delicately handled and delicately placed in there. That also goes to Diane's theory that in 1855, whoever opened it then would have also been very delicate with us because it is not bent.
Correct. Normally, if something this thin and this old was found, especially silver, this would be crinkled. It would be bent. It would be maybe lifted at the edges. There would be some signs of handling, and there isn't. There's none.
Can you imagine that we may actually have now forensically found evidence of Paul Revere? I mean, we know he's real. We know he was real. You know, I mean, that goes without saying. But to have what may actually be the man's fingerprint on something that he put in the ground in 1795?
It's mind-boggling, folks, if you understand anything about how, archaeology and the discoveries that they make on. Finding a fingerprint is a genetic blueprint of the person. There's so much you can gather from a fingerprint.
I mean, this is now one of the other things that I mentioned in the writing that was on this plaque, and believe me, it is beautiful. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Grand Mafter. Grand Mafter. Now, I had to go looking that up too today, and apparently it's a lot like a Grand Master, but this guy was like the deputy Grand Master. Scolay, William Scolay, was the deputy Grand Master at the Masonic Lodge of Paul Revere.
Yes.
So these two men were very well known to each other. And later, they call him a Grand Master, and later they use the term Deputy Grand Master.
Yes.
So there's a slight distinction there that apparently has been lost over the last couple of centuries. But now, this is something that also interests me. At the very bottom of the plaque, it says, being the 20th anniversary of American independence. Okay, 1795 is 19 years.
Yes.
And they had on there being the 20th anniversary.
Correct.
I find that interesting.
Correct. Now, here's something else very interesting about the F's in Massachusetts. Right now, I'm looking at an old book from that time period. And it seems that wherever an F appears is where it should be an S. Now, I'm looking at a book called Universal History from early IFT account of time. And it's compiled from the original writers back at the same time that this find was put in the ground. And what that is showing me is that maybe the S was not as used back then. The F was the substitute for the letter S. All through this book, all through this manuscript. And this was printed in London in 1770, as a matter of fact. In 1770, and every place where an S should be is an F.
However, throughout the writing on this plaque are a number of S's.
S's, right.
Branches,
and there are S's
legislative, use, stone, His Excellency, Samuel Adams, all through this, a foisted, all through this is the letter S, but only in two places, Grand Mafter and Massachusetts, is there an F. Even in Massachusetts, the F is followed by an S.
Okay, and I'm finding the same thing in this manuscript as well. So there must be a reason why in certain areas they substituted the F for the S. That would be an interesting thing to sort of investigate why.
You know, we're going to have to do a little digging into that, folks. But how cool is it that they've got this stuff now from 1795 from the likes of Sam Adams and Paul Revere?
Yes,
I'm just astonished by this, you know, and the fact that they opened something and Sam Adams' name was on something other than a bottle of beer. Wow. You know? I mean, but you know, these are the things that really get me going. I mean, I look at this stuff and I think, wow, what a fantastic find, what a brilliant thing now for the museum in Boston to be able to display. Just fantastic. But folks, we started the show. We're going to end it here in about 30 seconds, but we started this by bringing you the updates on what happened in Paris, France this morning. The murders of 12 people that worked for a satirical magazine by Islamic barbarians. We're going to stay on top of this. If we do have any breaking news on this throughout the rest of the afternoon, we'll bring it to you right here on CPR Worldwide Media. But Diane, I think it's safe to say that we are with the people of Paris and the people of France as they move into their evening hours today.
Yes, and it could get worse, guys, because if these reports by other witnesses are true that there were more gunmen there, this time with machine guns, we could be in for a very serious few days here. Well, and let's just hope that they're able to find these people and do what's necessary to them. But for now, our thoughts are with the folks there in Paris, the family and friends of those who were lost, and the people of Paris. It's tough, and we know what you're going through, and we're with you. So. And I just want to say one thing: Je suis Charlie. Exactly. Folks, have a great rest of the day. Diane, say goodbye. Bye, guys.
Climbing, twisting, turning.